We can build a wall. We can build a wall. We can build a wall or a path to each other, a path to each other, a path to each other.
Each word a stone,
we
can
build
a wall.
A stone,
we can
build a wall. We can build a wall. We can build a wall or a path to each other, a path to each other, a path to each other, a path to each other.
A stone,
we can build a wall. A stone, we can build a wall. We can build a wall. We can build a wall or a path to each other, to each other, a path to each other, a path to each other. We can build a path. We can build a path. Each word a stone. We can build a path to each other.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome to the First Unitarian Society of Madison. My name is Kelly Crocker and I'm one of the ministers here. Today I'm joined by my colleague, the Reverend Kelly Asbruth Jackson, and the worship team of Stephen Gregorius, Linda Warren, Heather Thorpe, and Daniel Carnes. At First Unitarian Society, we question boldly, listen humbly, grow spiritually, act courageously, and love unapologetically. If you are visiting us today, welcome. We're so very glad that you are with us. If you would like more information about our activities and our programs, please stop by the welcome table located in the Commons. It is through the doors to your right, next to the elevator. We also hope you'll be able to stay and join us for coffee hour immediately after service, also in the Commons. And for those connecting with us virtually today, we are glad that you are with us as well. And we hope you'll be able to take a moment to see the announcement slides shown briefly after today's service to learn about upcoming programs and activities. A few special announcements. Today is our fall parish meeting where we discuss our open question. Our question this year is about our new vision statement, talking with others about what resonates with you and how we can help bring that vision to life in the coming year. So we hope that you'll be able to come back and join us. It's at 12:15 here in the Atrium Auditorium. Our Art in the Right Place Art Fair will be here before we know it on November 17th and 18th. The team working on this incredible event is looking for more volunteers to make it happen. Lorna Aronson will be in the Commons during coffee hour and would love to talk with you about jobs large and small that you could help with to make this year's Art in the Right Place happen. It's really a fabulous event, so even if you can't volunteer, we hope that you mark it in your calendar and that you will plan to be here and check out these incredible artists. And now, I invite you to join in a moment of silence as we center ourselves and bring ourselves fully into this time, joining together once again in community. Welcome, you who approach this time as a journey toward the horizon, the beginning of the next chapter, seeking all of the insights and opportunities the new day offers.
Welcome, You who live out your values with passion, who have a drive for transforming the world toward gratitude and healing, who are ignited by purpose.
Welcome, you who ride the waves of life with serenity, you who show courage in facing the depths of true emotion, you who create and change and flow with time.
Welcome, you who are here to seek the center, you who wish to be grounded in community, you who call our attention to the present moment.
Welcome all from every direction, with all of your gifts and your limits, with all that the past week and the past year have given you.
We find ourselves here on the threshold of a new day, and some would say a new year, at a time when the past and the present are stirred together in the cauldron of what we shall become.
Today we remember our beloved dead. Today we give thanks to the people and the forces that helped us to reach this moment.
Today we gather with the saints and sinners and souls who have been, are being, and will be this congregation as we open up a new path to the future.
And we invite you to rise in all the ways we do, and join together in our words of affirmation as we light our chalice. Without fear, with thanksgiving, and with hope for all that awaits, we remember those who have gone before. We honor the circle of life and death and our place within this sacred thread. And before we join in our opening hymn, we invite you to take a moment to greet those around you with a wave, a nod, a good morning. Please be attentive to one another's needs as you do.
Morning.
Good morning. Okay. Sophie and Sadie, we're gonna sing now, so we're gonna. Oh yeah.
Good morning. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing hymn number 103, For All the Saints. For all the saints who from their labors rest, who thee by faith before the world confess, thy name most holy be forever
to invite forward now anyone who'd like to come up and join us to hear a story today. All right, good morning. Oh, I love it when there's costumes, you know? It doesn't have to be a special occasion to have a costume. Occasionally we have costumes on other days too. So, well, good morning. I'm so glad that you're here this morning. We've got this story today. This story is called Duck, Death, and the Tulip. Those are the three characters in the story. Let's see what happens. So, here's how we begin. We begin with Duck. For a while now, Duck had had a feeling. Who are you? What are you up to, creeping along behind me? Good, said Death. You finally noticed me. I am Death. Now, Duck was scared stiff, and who could blame her? You've come to fetch me? Oh, I've been close by your whole life, just in case. In case of what? said Duck. In case something happens to you, a nasty cold, an accident, you never know. Are you going to make something happen? Life takes care of that, the coughs and colds, all the other things that happen to you ducks. Fox, for example. Duck tried not to think about that. It gave her goosebumps. Death gave her a friendly smile. You know, actually, he was nice if you forgot for a moment who he was. Really quite nice. Shall we go down to the pond? She asked. Death had been dreading that. Before long, Death decided that he had his limits. Forgive me, he said, I really must get away from this damp. Are you cold? Duck asked. Shall I warm you a little? Nobody had ever offered to do that for Death. Now, Duck woke first, very early in the morning. I'm not dead, she thought to herself. She poked Death in the ribs. Hey, I'm not dead, she quacked, utterly delighted. I'm pleased for you, Death said, stretching. And if I died, well, then I wouldn't have been able to sleep in, Death yawned. That wasn't a very nice thing to say, thought Duck. For a while, she refused to speak, but soon she was chattering again. You know, some ducks say that you become an angel and sit on a cloud looking over the earth. Quite possibly. Death rose to his feet. You do have the wings already. Some ducks say that deep in the earth, there's a place where you'll be roasted if you haven't been good. You ducks come up with some amazing stories, but who knows? So you don't know either? Duck snapped. Death just looked at her. What shall we do today? Death asked. Well, let's not go back to the pond. Let's do something really exciting. Death was relieved. Shall we climb a tree? He teased. They could see the pond far below. There it lay, so still and so lonely. That's what it will be like when I'm dead, Duck thought. The pond alone, without me. Death could sometimes read minds. You know, when you're dead, the pond will be gone too, at least for you. Are you sure? Duck was astonished. As sure can be, Death said. Well, that's a comfort. I won't have to mourn over it when you're dead. Death finished the sentence. He wasn't coy about the subject. Let's climb down, Duck pleaded after a bit. You can start having strange thoughts in trees. Now, summer was ending, and they went less and less often to the pond. They sat together in the grass, saying little. When a cool wind ruffled her feathers, Duck felt its chill for the first time. I'm cold, she said one evening. Will you warm me a little? Snowflakes drifted down. Something had happened. Death looked at the duck. She'd stopped breathing. She lay quiet and still. Death stroked a few rumpled feathers back into place, and then he carried her to the great river. He laid her gently on the water and nudged her on her way. For a long time, he watched her. And when she was lost to sight, he was almost a little moved. But that's life, thought Death. Death is a part of life. Life begins and life ends. But, like the great river, the rest of the world keeps going on without us. You didn't hear the story? Oh, okay. We can tell you after. Yeah, we can. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So today is the day in this service where we think about the people we know who have died, the people we care about who aren't with us in person anymore but are still with us in our hearts. Yeah. Thank you. We are now going to hear some music before you go to your classes. So stay right here.
Time held me fast as a foe. Though ahead I could see what I knew I could be, it was time held me fast.
Thank you.
Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing hymn number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song.
So first, a little bit of a ghost story, or maybe in another sense, the exact opposite of one. This is called The Soldier and Death. Once, long ago, in Russia, there was a soldier who served in the army of the Tsar. At the end of a long war, he found himself at his liberty and far from home. As he made his way back towards the town where he was raised, he managed to run out of money from losing too many times at cards, and to run out of food by gorging himself too carelessly and not keeping track of how much he had to eat and how much further he had to go. So that it came to a day when all that the soldier had left in his pockets as he walked down the road were 3 dry biscuits. He was just thinking that he might make a breakfast out of one of those biscuits when he happened upon a poor fellow who was in a very bad way. The man sat by the side of the road, begging for food, and the soldier could not look away. He thought that he might share his simple meal with the man, but then he said to himself, "I have had many hearty meals in the last month or so. He looks as though his belly hasn't been full in a year. Surely he needs this more than I." So the soldier gave the man his whole biscuit, and the man was very grateful, and insisted that the soldier take a gift from him in return. He held up a simple cloth sack that was nothing to look at all, and told the soldier, This is a magical sack. Whatever or whoever you command to climb inside of it, they must obey and will not be able to leave until you release them. The soldier wasn't sure that he believed the poor man, but he took the gift at his insistence and continued down the road. Along about noon, the soldier was just thinking about having one of his 2 remaining biscuits for lunch when he came upon a sorrowfully poor woman who sat by the side of the road, begging. At first, he thought that he might give her half of his lunch, but looking at her, he could see that she was far, far hungrier than he, even after he had skipped his breakfast. So he gave her the whole biscuit and turned to continue on his way. But she clasped his hand and would not let him go until he took something in return. She handed him a deck of playing cards and said, "So long as you play with this deck, you will never lose another hand of cards again." The soldier was not sure that he believed her, but he took her gift to be polite, and he continued on his journey. As evening came, the soldier was very hungry indeed and felt that it was time to eat his last remaining biscuit for dinner. But just then he happened upon another person begging by the side of the road. This person was huddled under layer after layer of rags so that the soldier could not even guess how he should address them. The soldier was hungry now and almost convinced himself that he really should split this biscuit in half this time. But then he thought of what might happen if this poor, hungry person met either of the 2 people the soldier had fed earlier in the day. What might this person think to know that they had been given only half of what the others had received? So the soldier gave the hungry person 1 whole biscuit, his last. And this beggar also insisted that the soldier take a gift in return, handing him a simple drinking glass and saying, "If a person is sick or injured, pour some water in this glass and look at them through the water as they lie in bed. If you see death standing beside their head, they will live. But if death stands at their feet, then you will know for certain that they will die." The soldier slept well that night, despite his grumbling stomach, and the next morning he happened to spy a flock of geese flying overhead. As a bit of a lark, he held up the sack and said, "Hey, you geese, get in my sack." Much to his surprise, they all flew down and into the bag, just as he had commanded. Shocked and amazed, the soldier continued on with the sack full of geese to the nearest town, where he traded the animals to an innkeeper for lodgings and a fine meal. That night, at the inn, he decided to try his luck and took out the deck of cards that he had been given. He played hand after hand long into the night with the other lodgers at the inn and never lost once. By the morning, he had won enough money to live comfortably for years to come. And this is just what the soldier did. He returned to his hometown, married, started a family, all with his profits from that one night. But after his first child was born, the infant caught a fever and became very sick. The soldier was afraid for his child's life and thought again of the 3rd gift he had been given, the glass. He poured it full of water and he held it up to the light, peering at his sick child through it. He could see death herself in the form of a kindly old woman standing at his child's head. He breathed a sigh of relief to know that the baby would come through the sickness safely. And afterwards, he made a new career for himself, traveling the country, using his magical glass to predict the recovery of the sick and dousing them with the simple water inside of it to take credit for their healing. He made a pretty penny this way, for there's few folks as grateful as a person who thinks that they will die, but does not. This all went well, until one day the soldier was called to the palace of the Tsar himself, who was very, very ill. The soldier did his magic trick with the glass, But this time he could see Death standing at the Tsar's feet. Death was certain. He thought that he would have to admit that there were some maladies even he could not cure until he had an idea. He walked right up to Death, standing beside the bed, and reached out and shook her hand. "I'll make you a wager," he said. "One hand of cards, and the winner gets the life of myself and the Tsar." Now, Death trusted her skill after countless long years stretching as far back as life itself, and agreed. But the soldier still had his magic deck, so the outcome was assured from the beginning. The Tsar made a complete recovery, and the soldier felt very clever indeed. But still, time passed. And years later, the soldier himself fell ill. He asked his child, who was grown by then, to take out his magic glass and peer into it and tell him where Death stood. The news was grave. Death stood at the foot of his bed. Worried that he was coming to the end, the soldier gathered his family and his most prized possessions around him. As he said goodbye to each in turn and gave away this thing to that one and that thing to this one, finally he came to the end, and he called out to Death herself, for by now they knew each other quite well. And she answered him, "What is it, you old cheat?" And he whispered, "Get in my sack." And she did. Now, it's natural enough to want to cheat Death. Natural enough that we humans have many different stories about it. This was just one of them. In the Greek myth of Persephone, the goddess was trapped in the land of the dead and had to bargain her way out for half a year at a time. The tale of Orpheus, too, is about overcoming death and restoring those who have died to the land of the living. In one of my favorite films with deep theological meanings, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, the would-be young rock stars are killed and consigned to the afterlife. To win their way back to the mortal world, they challenge Death to a game. Their choice of game is Battleship, which they are apparently very gifted. Death is, however, a sore loser and insists on best 2 out of 3, and then 3 out of 5, and so on, passing through the games of Clue, electric football. If you are too young to know what that is, please ask your parents, and they will ask their parents, and they can explain it to you. And finally, Twister, before finally conceding defeat. Besting Death is not supposed to be easy, after all. We tell stories like this because death frightens us. We are afraid of death for ourselves, and often even more so for the people we love. We know that life is never completely predictable, and so neither is death. It is comforting to think that this is something to be overcome by wits or luck or ingenuity. And the continuing advance of modern medicine and improvements in public health would seem to lend a little bit of credence to this idea. We have, to some degree, tamed death, if not defeated it. Though every decade or so there seems to be some new idea that promises to overcome death completely, whether it is cryogenic freezing, nanotechnology, cybernetic consciousness. The dream of doing away with death entirely persists. But I haven't told you the ending of the story of the soldier and death. You see, with death herself trapped in that sack, no one and nothing could die. Not a person, not an animal, not even the wheat in the fields. People kept right on coming into the world, but no one was going back out again. Folks soon realized something strange was going on, and eventually word got around who was responsible. As they grew older and more tired and got heavier with the sense that their time had already passed, folks who'd been walking the earth for 150 or 200 years grew to resent their predicament. So it was that every friend and every neighbor and every stranger the soldier spoke to begged and argued with him to release death back into the world. Finally, when he himself had grown to be terribly tired of living too, the soldier opened up his sack and let death free again. Off she flew like a comet, getting to work on her colossal backlog. But she left the soldier alone entire and pledged that she'd have nothing to do with that man ever again. And the people and the animals and the wheat in the fields went back to living and dying in the same proportions as they had before. But the soldier just kept right on living. And for all I know, he may be living still. Death is a part of life. Not an utterly fair or perfectly equal part. Certainly, it comes too soon for some, and perhaps later for others than they might choose. The great Unitarian Universalist theologian, Forrest Church, said that religion, and here I would say any understanding of purpose and value in life, religion is our human response to the dual reality of being alive and having to die. Without death, life would not be life, and the world would not be the world, and none of the things we love would be as we love them. That can be cold comfort, I know, to a grieving heart. As the musician Carmeg DeForest once sang, I know everybody dies. Why'd it have to be you? Which may be why we have each other. It is certainly one of the foremost reasons why we need each other. To grieve alongside one another, to celebrate life when it passes, hopefully before then as well. To remind each other that death may be a cause for grief or sorrow, but it should not be a cause for fear. The length of each life is not certain. The amount of time we each receive for living is not fair. The second part may be a theological statement, but the first is a matter of fact. The story of the soldier in death illustrates that life without death would hardly be recognizable at all. And in fact, it would seem to me to be a rather horrible state of affairs. There is something in our finitude that makes the experience of living and knowing each other and other living things precious. A few years ago, the actor Keanu Reeves, one of the stars of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, appeared on a late-night interview program and was asked this modest question. What do you think happens when we die? His answer strikes me as that rare and valuable thing, which is both a theological statement and a matter of fact. I know that the ones who love us will miss us. We gather today for that reason, because of the ones we love who have died, whom we miss. We live sometimes with a background awareness of the absence of their presence, and sometimes with a much more acute experience of the presence of their absence. Grief is not a linear force, and it zigzags across time, but the grief of death is also like wood ash or smoke. It is the remnant of something vital and powerful. We mourn because a relationship mattered, because a person mattered. Grief can hurt, and there are ways of grieving that can get in the way of living. But grief can also be an affirmation of the meaning and value of life. and that is nothing to fear.
I invite you now into this time of giving and receiving, where we give freely and generously to this offering, which sustains and strengthens our community here, and also our outreach offering recipient, who this week is the Rainbow Project, a child and family counseling and resource clinic. The Rainbow Project exists to provide healing and hope to young children and their families who have experienced trauma. They do this through short and long-term counseling, preventative care, and intervention. They seek to serve everyone who needs them. No one is turned away for lack of funds. There's multiple ways to share your gifts. Baskets are being passed here in the room. You'll see on the screen you can donate directly from our website, fusmadison.org. You'll see the text to give information there as well. We thank you for your generosity and your faith in this life we create together.
The quiet heart, the quiet heart knows the pace of kindness. The quiet heart, the quiet heart measures love in gentleness. The quiet heart, the quiet heart sees beauty in reality. The quiet
And now we turn our thoughts to those who are no longer with us. Images come to our minds of dear companions who once graced our lives, loved ones whom we miss, persons whose lives made an impact on our own, of all those who were here, contributing, caring, and are now gone. Our memories bring both joy and sadness. Let us not push these feelings away, for our recollections attest to the enduring importance of these friends, this love, our memories. May these brave and lovely spirits live again in our tender thoughts and prove that death and distance are powerless to sever the bonds, the strings that connect loving hearts. We begin with recalling all those members of this community who've died in the past year. Ed Colner, Joan Burns, Jane Clay, June Johnson, Louise Klopp, Jim Coulson, John Webster, Marilyn Carrion, Sparrow Senti, Louis Chosey, Jerry Mosier, John Palmer, Cease Bolliard, Ed Phillips, Martha Pop, Tom Garver, Genevieve Edwards Miller, Ken Ragland, Joan Schutte.
And now we recall other loved ones, those who live in our memories, in our hearts. David Naylor, Judy Wiskus, Casey Brown, Sal Hallman, Frederick Tidd, Joanne Murphy, Flossie Byers, Brownie Byers, Christy Byers Flum, Betsy Ann Byers, Bonnie Byers, Jock Byers, Jamie Byers, Jean Ketter, Tricia Yu, Suzanne Allen, Janine Arsenault, Gary Kammerling, Rosalie Sullivan, Helen Richardson Fox, Lynn Replinger, Mary Skates, Catherine Lopez, Mark Johnson, Paul Johnson, Judy Gilson, Steve Ciempo, Boo Carpenter. And if you have a name to add to this list, please say it now if you are watching elsewhere or as I reach out in your direction here in the room.
George Woods. Don Miller. Bonnie Anderson.
Each of us has ancestors and teachers, neighbors and inspirations, and all manner of people whose lives have shaped our own. Each of us have known other lives which have helped to make us who we are. On this day, we remember these grandparents and confidants, these siblings and lovers and friends and children who live with us still in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts.
We, the living, keep alive the memory of the dead, as they also sustain us by the work they did and the love they shared in life. In times of joy and triumph, in times of suffering and pain, in times of contemplation or uncertainty, we are accompanied still by the ones who have gone on before us. As we honor our ancestors, the beloved dead who have made our lives possible. Let us bless them thus with the words on the screen. Please join me in singing. May the memory of those who have loved me persist in the love that I give and endure in the love of those who remember me.
Blessed be, and amen.
There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. Please rise in body or in spirit and join together in singing our closing hymn, 1051, We Are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage and fathers of time. We are daughters of dust and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy and brothers of love. We are lovers of life and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are.
For those who came before us, we offer gratitude and thanks. May their memories be a blessing. May we feel surrounded by their love. As we go forth from this time and place, let us be inspired by their courage, their wisdom, and their dreams. Let us honor them by doing the work of living boldly, loving mightily, and creating heaven on earth. Blessed be, go in peace, and please be seated for the postlude.
Deep peace of the running wave to song.